Hi there, and welcome to my Brain Health Cooking Kitchen. My episode today is dedicated to women 35 years of age and older. I am preparing Superfood Breakfast Cookies. That's right, breakfast cookies. And they make a great snack, and they are crunchy and nutty and delicious. And like all my recipes, they're quick, easy, delicious, affordable, and best of all, they are neurotrophic. They support brain health. That 35 years of age is usually about the time that aging starts. And at that time, we need to start preparing for menopause. Menopause just doesn't happen on as we hit 50. It's a steady decline, and we need to support our bodies. This recipe starts with an amazing ingredient, and this are rolled oats. And I've done a previous section on overnight oats, so I'm not going to go over all the things that I talked about. Oats, rolled oats are good for mood. And as we approach menopause, mood becomes one of the issues, and so does energy. And oats contain B vitamins, especially B1 and folate. And they're also high in selenium. So rolled oats are incredible. And we're going to start by putting all of the dry ingredients together. It calls for oat flour, and I don't buy oat flour. I make my own. I put half a cup of oats in here. I'm going to put it in a bullet and blend it, and I'll be right back. Okay, I put it through the bullet and the NutriBullet, and there is oat flour. And then we have one quarter cup pumpkin seeds, and pumpkin seeds are so nutritional. Now, one of the things that you can do to increase the nutrition that you're able to get out of the pumpkin seeds, and also do this with the almonds, is I sprout them overnight in water, and the covering of it has phytic acid. And once this phytic acid is released in the wetness, you see little bubbles on the top. You rinse them out really good, and you put them in a dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can spread them out on a cookie sheet, put them in the oven at a very low temperature, and then leave them there until they're crunchy. Sprout my almonds, and they have this really incredible texture after they've soaked all night and you dried them, and they're crunchy, and I just love the texture. And so I don't buy almonds that are cut. I just make my own by running a rolling pin over them, and I'm going to have almond pieces. Now, almonds are also incredible superfood. They contain vitamin E. And let me see, what else do they contain that I have on here? Almonds fight fatigue. They are high in vitamin E, and they're very high in calcium. And ladies, menopausal ladies, we need all the calcium we can get in a form that's natural to help our bones at this time. So I'm going to crush the almonds, and then we'll go on with the drying. So I'm going to put these in. When the phytic acid is released, the nutrients in the seeds are more available to us. And seeds are like stem cells. They are food stem cells, and they are super high in nutrition. And this is why all these seeds make this recipe a super recipe. Now we have dried cranberries, and when we see color, and this beautiful red color, we know that we're seeing anthocyanins, and anthocyanins are one of the food components that we know are good for improving cognition. So, and they are high in sugar, but we're not putting a whole lot in there, so it's okay. Next, we have 2 tablespoons hemp seeds. and they make CBD out of this, and it's got, once again, it's one of those super nutritional and calming. And now we're going to do chia seeds. Now, chia seeds, in a study, 2 tablespoons, just 2 tablespoons of chia seeds for 7 weeks increased ALA, which is a form of omega that is really good for our bodies. And it increased it by 138% in the blood. So this is, and it's also high in iron, calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Now, I have issues with one of the issues with my brain is I'm low in zinc. And I have a gene SNP that is not a good transporter of zinc. So I need all the chia seeds I can get to get my zinc levels up. 2 tablespoons flax seeds. Now, flax seeds is something that menopausal women need to consume as often as possible. I like to try and have 2 tablespoons a day. And I'm not always able to do that. I can put it in my overnight oats. It's one of the ingredients that I include. I sometimes put it in soups, in salads, and I try and get 2 tablespoons of flax seeds. Okay, so the next dry ingredient is a little tiny bit of salt. And Paul had a doctor's appointment earlier this week, and we need to reduce salt. So very little salt, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, and all cinnamon is not the same. Some cinnamons are higher in antioxidant. One that you want to eat is Ceylon cinnamon. And there are many different kinds, and you need to see, if at all possible, to get Ceylon cinnamon because it's the highest in antioxidants. So there we go. And I have a little bit of baking powder, 1 teaspoon baking powder as well. So these are all the dry ingredients. And I'm going to mix them together. And the first time I made the recipe, I didn't do that. And shame on me. And the next thing we're going to do is combine the wet ingredients and stir them. Now, this is maple syrup, and I'm crazy about not eating sugar, but maple syrup is nutritious, and it's made from a real plant. It's not highly processed. There is some processing involved, but I think the body will recognize it for what it is. At least that's what I'm sticking to that. I think my body will recognize it. And coconut oil. And the important thing about coconut oil is I measured this. I melted it and measured it. And while I've been preparing, it has solidified. This is winter, and we live in an old house, and you can see I'm dressed in layers. Okay, so I have 1/2 cup of nut butter, and I prefer to use almond butter. There are others are nutritious as well, peanut, cashew, sunflower, but almond butter is very, very high in vitamin E. And it's something that we need. Almonds are also high in magnesium, and I need all the magnesium that I can get. So this looks pretty good. Let me put this down. And I've been cooking, doing a lot of new recipes, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But I've been doing a lot of new recipes, and sometimes 1 tablespoon of water makes a big difference. So we need to keep the wet ingredients in the right proportion to the dry ingredients. And I've got to stir this in, and this takes a little bit of work. I try to learn how to cook from my grandmother, and I would say, Grandma, how do I know when the tortillas are done? She says, well, when it feels right. And, I didn't know when it felt right, and they weren't very good. And her food was just incredible. It was amazing what she could do. And she had an absolute green thumb that I aspire to as well. We're getting ready to plant our garden for this summer. And we had wonderful herbs, but I'm going to have to go easy on the herbs this year because I learned that I carry the comp tea and I have to pulse a lot of the herbs that I enjoy, like oregano and mint and parsley and thyme and sage, because they're catechol, and catechol are what comp tea gene snips have trouble removing. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of water because, you know, my grandma said you had to do it till it felt right. It doesn't feel right. And just a little bit of water there, a little bit over here. That's feeling better. It's feeling like they will stick together. And I have just a couple of dry spots. I'm going to get an ice cream scoop. Now, there's no eggs in this, and this is one of the reasons why I selected this recipe. Let me just tilt the cookies right there. The oven has been preheated at 350 degrees, and we're going to cook these for 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to look at the edges to see when they're golden brown. I'm always looking for information that can create health. And I was so fortunate. I follow the work of the podcast by Andrew Huberman, who has wonderful guests who are doing the research today for what will be common practice in the future. But I don't want to wait for the future to improve my health. I want to improve my health now. And I listened to the podcast with Andrew Huberman, interviewed David Sinclair, and David Sinclair is one of the lead geneticists in the world. And they talked about something that I've seen before and I've heard before, but I couldn't put it in total context, and that's TMAO. And don't ask me to pronounce it. I could stumble through it, but TMAO is a metabolite, and it's created by our gut microbes. And we know that gut microbes create our health. And so I'm always eating fiber to feed my microbiome so that it can create my health. Well, our microbiome can also create things that are not good for us. And TMAO is one of those things. And what happens is when we eat meat, especially dead meat and processed meat, meat and animal products, our body creates TMAO, and a little bit of it is probably good stress, but too much of it can actually determine our health, our death. And so if we want to prolong life, we have to eat very little animal products. And you know, when I look at the Institute of Functional Medicine food plan, when they have a serving of fish, it's 1 to 2 ounces. Eggs are one of the things that Paul and I were eating too many of. And I started looking for ways that I could contribute to reducing TMAO in our bodies. And Paul has arterial sclerosis. He's got a 50% blockage. And so, you know, I started looking for everything that I could do to help that situation. And so we are cutting down on eggs. It doesn't mean that we won't eat pancake vegetables, but we're not going to do it as frequently as we were. We were eating eggs maybe 4 times a week. And we're going to try and move that to maybe 1 time a week and reduce the amount of eggs. So these cookies that I'm preparing in the oven, you know, they're kind of hard to stick together. And be sure you let them cool before you try and eat one, because they need that time to solidify and find their form. So you have to let them cool. And TMAO, if you're interested, this book is amazing. And it's, it's the future, what will be accepted 20, 30 years from now. I'm putting this work into effect now, reducing eggs, reducing animal products, and even reducing fish. So I'm going to be presenting the recipes that I have explored. And then I have had some interesting experiences learning to cook with tofu. So I have found some delicious recipes that I look forward to sharing with you in the future. Some more eggless breakfast foods that are delicious, that are quick, easy, delicious, affordable, and neurotrophic. Oh, I wish you could smell the cookies. And I forgot to mention that I did put half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and it just is like a diffuser. It just smells divine. The cookies look amazing. There's one last thing. It's important to eat flax meal, not flax seeds. If you know anyone who needs this information, please share it. I do this work for myself, and I try to share everything that I learn so that you don't have to read all the books that I read. Just pass this information along to the people that you care about. I'm Diana Liz, and I'm going to enjoy one of my cookies with a cup of tea. Bon appetit for a brighter brain.